Hello, men. This is Justin with Just in Time. I hope you're having a great day today. Today, the topic of conversation, drinks, food, snacks, and treats. Fun one at the end. So, what we're talking about as far as why these things matter, to have a list that I've compiled here that has worked over the past couple of years is essential to sticking on with the period of time that we're eating during the day, like an 8 to 4 period. That's typically what I'm doing here to make it to where my body is processing this food. And then after that, the body can relax until the next day. So some of these right here are essential components to pretty much every day, every week, and sometimes I'll alternate these things up. So we'll start with drinks right here. I've gone through these drinks right here, the labels, after strenuous research of all different types of kombucha, water, coffee, and all those type of things right here. And I found the best one. So at the top of the list, of course, is water. We've talked about this in a previous video, how water is super beneficial for the body. It's made up of 70% water about, and to keep the body hydrated is key so we can make proper decisions throughout the day for our health. So water's at the top of that list there. The next thing, Brew Doctor Kombucha. This particular brand right here has amazing ingredients in it, and I've checked with other ones, and this seems to be, I would say, the best one that I've found here locally. So if you're at Whole Foods or Sprouts or somewhere like that, or if you have some local health store, check and see if there's a Brew Doctor Kombucha they have. And I think pretty much all the flavors, I've checked through, I think about 7 or 8 of them that I could find. And they all had decent ingredients, like they were good, and they're organic. So sometimes on the labels, if you want to check, what I do is I'll see if it has like a stevia leaf or something. And if it just says stevia leaf but not organic, you might want to consider checking for another brand like the Brew Doctor. And if it says like organic stevia leaf or something to that extent where it's organic, you're going to have better luck with the actual process of how that's made rather than going through like a bleaching process. So Brew Doctor Kombucha, highly recommend that brand. And then next we have spring water, which is the Mountain Valley spring water. That's in the other video we talked about. It's a big green bottle with the red stripe on it. And it comes from I think the Ouachita Mountains. And it's amazing thing to add in the diet to or into our daily activities, weekly activities of, drinking and working out and things like that. It just gives you a variety of a different water source. And I really enjoy that, changing up from like the reverse osmosis. So next on the list, we have the Equator Decaf Coffee. Now, this is a cold brew, and it comes in a blue bottle. Typically, I'll get it at Whole Foods. I think that's the only place I've seen it so far. Whole Foods has that, and the reason I chose the decaf, we won't get that spike of, caffeinated drinks or beverages, when we're drinking that. We won't get kind of on a jitter type of effect. So I really enjoy the Equator Decaf plus the Mooala banana milk. Whole Foods, the one that we have here, that definitely has it. So if you want to check and see if they have some type of banana milk, if they don't have the Mooala, and just check for, really a whole bunch of added sugar if they have that. I think this one has maybe like 4 grams per serving, something like that, which if we're coming from, eating from McDonald's and Burger King and all this type of stuff, going from something where it's, 4 grams, it might not taste like that sugary. But if we get our taste buds reacclimated to where it's kind of a baseline of not really having sugar incorporated into our diet as much, then when we do this, we're really going to taste, we'll taste a little bit of that sugar there, especially if we add, it's nice to add some, just a tad of maple syrup sometimes, just like a little drizzle on top. And I've tried this before where I thought I could add, just kind of I don't know, maybe, I don't even know what it would be considered, but I added what I thought wasn't too much, and it just completely spiked the drink of the banana milk and the decaf. So if you're going to add anything, or when I add maple syrup or anything like that, just a hint. But this is such a good treat. And then we'll talk about, over on the other list, we have whipped cream. and there's a specific brand there I have labeled, and that is super cool to put on top of this drink. So if you have some type of mason jar with a lid that you can screw on, you can put these in with ice, the decaf and the banana milk, and you can shake it up. And then after that's done, put some whipped cream on top, just like a little, I don't know, palmful or something like that from the spray can. It makes a nice treat, I think, to get through the day. So super beneficial there as far as keeping on track and keeping the drinks at a level of variety that's not just water, which water is great, but it can be nice to have some of these in there. And at the bottom, I put Health Aid Kombucha. That's a different brand here. If there's not Brew Doctor available, which I checked one of them, I think it was Pineapple Paradise or Pineapple that I checked, and I think it was decent. So this is another brand that you can check into. Be sure to check the ingredients sometimes on, periodically, every couple months or so on some of these products. I noticed on one of the drinks that I was getting, I won't mention it here, it was a go-to drink because they had organic ingredients in it. There weren't really, I don't think there were any chemicals when I was checking. And last time I checked, they added natural flavors to it. It was organic, natural flavors. So, every once in a while, we can check those labels just to make sure we're on the up and up of what we're putting in our body. So remember on one of the other videos, we talked about GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. So we want to make sure that the things we're putting in our body are going to benefit it for this health weight release process. So, okay, on to the next one, food. This is probably the most essential thing, really, out of all three of these categories. So the things I have listed here, all these are organic, and there are specific brands for here. I would check and see if you don't have some of the brands that I'm listing here, just check your local shops and see if you have something similar. So as far as the eggs, I believe it's Vital Farms. It's a 18, I do like an 18 pack of eggs, and it's a black kind of label on top, Vital Farms. It has a red label there. Super great eggs. I've really enjoyed those. The chicken I get from Whole Foods. They have I think it's just the 365 or the Whole Foods brand, something like that. I get about a pound of chicken for each pack. So I'll stock those up in the freezer to about 4 or 5 typically. That's where I like to have them, and then have one maybe in the fridge so it's thawing out so I can do it for the next day and make something if I'm not doing some type of sausage or chicken sausage or something like that. So you can make a ton of meals with chicken and really good in protein, super clean. We don't have to watch out for really like the grass-fed, corn-fed kind of beef stuff. Chicken's a really good go-to. So with that, beans as well. They're like $1.50 for each can. And you can do black beans, I think it's cannelli beans, all these different types. And I like to mix it up. I'll typically have maybe like 8 cans of beans. So if I want to add some protein into a meal, I can just pop one of those open and put like a third of the can in or half of the can, depending on how hungry I feel for that particular meal. And it's an amazing way to add, give a little bit of a bean texture and also give that protein in there. The next thing after there is cheese. And I mean, there was a point I'll put a screenshot up or something in the video right here of the card that I have. At one point in this journey, I ordered so much cheese, or I was getting so much cheese at the store that I made it a point to get a debit card with cheese on it, a whole bunch of little cheeses. So I'll put that up. It's probably still up on the screen now, so you can see it. But yeah, I love cheese. So Organic Valley, it's the 6-month aged cheese. It's got a black label on it. Sometimes at Whole Foods, they'll go on sale for like, I think it's like $7.49 or $7.99 for a pack, or I think it's like a 6 or 8 ounce block of it. And it's amazing. It really is. I really love that as far as adding it into whatever meal I'm making. So I'll skip over it with cheese. Sour cream and cheese kind of go hand in hand for me. If I'm doing a meal where I have cheese in there, there's probably going to be sour cream. So I'm mixing something in with that. So for an example that I can give for like a breakfast would be, say you're doing some type of like a basmati rice, like an organic basmati rice, or a cauliflower rice, which we have right here, cauliflower rice, and put that in, kind of let that cook. And then we can do some of this Italian chicken sausage. So I can either do one link of that or 2 links. I'll put that in there for like 5 minutes and just kind of let it cook. It gets real juicy. I won't cut it or anything at that point. I used to cut it and do like individual slices and cook that, but I let the whole thing cook. It gets super juicy inside, and then I'll cut it up and then mix it in with the cauliflower rice. I'll do eggs. I'll crack probably, like, I usually do 2 eggs, sometimes 3, but 2 eggs. I'll have beans in there. I'll do a little bit of olive oil, salsa, cauliflower rice, maybe a drizzle of honey, maybe a drizzle of maple syrup on there. And then with all that together at the very end, when that's kind of all together, I'll put a few blueberries on top and Celtic sea salt. I love putting that on there. That's an essential part. There's like 80 something minerals that your body can use from that. So highly recommend some Celtic sea salt as well. But yeah, that's a typical meal that I have in the morning. Includes eggs, bean, cheese, olive oil, salsa, and the ingredients I listed. These things I have right here are pretty essential, and most of the time I'll have these on hand, minus the sourdough. The sourdough is great. If you have a Sprouts in your town, I would highly suggest going there and get one of the sourdoughs, 1 or 2 of those if you're going into this weight release journey, like from 278 to 180, and right now we're at 245. The sourdough can be a great transition from going from eating, McDonald's and fast food restaurants and things like this to transitioning into what would be proper for us to be able to release weight properly. So the sourdough, this was a go-to almost every single week when I started. It was either every week or every other week. And there's so many things you can do with it. You can make sandwiches with it. You can put some greens on there with tomato. You can do a little broil in the oven and put some cheese on top. And different types, you could do like jalapenos on there and broil that after you toasted the bread. So many things you can do with it. So sourdough is great. At this point right now, I've transitioned out of using that as much, and I'm doing more the cauliflower rice and the basmati rice. So those are kind of I go back and forth between those, and I found great success when I'm using the cauliflower rice rather than actual rice. It's not as many carbs, and there's sometimes when I'm getting down to that point where some of the days I'm eating like 1 meal and then maybe a couple snacks, and then some days it'll be 2 meals. So it's really nice to be able to see that my body doesn't need that much food when I was used to eating a ton of food, like all the time. Like at 10 o'clock at night, 7 in the morning when I wake up, and just constant. So having a period of time from 8 in the morning till about 4 in the afternoon, that's when I'm really about eating. Sometimes about 9 to 5-ish. It depends on the day. But there is a time when my body is taking in food, and then a time when it is completely just resting from like digesting, and then, burning off whatever fat it needs to. So I find it super beneficial to have that rest period. And I love looking at the scale the next day after I know that I did a good job the day before. Like, it's typically going down unless I've worked out or something like that. So, yeah. And then we'll talk about, cream cheese. Cream cheese, we'll talk about that with the snacks and treats here in just a moment. But yeah, essential for all this stuff right here, and you can play with it. I mean, it's your body, so like figure out what works. All this stuff has worked for me, so I'm sharing this for you guys, So the last section here, we're talking about snacks and treats. This is probably my favorite one because I can buy pretty much any of these and they'll be gone in the first maybe 3 days if I buy a pack or 2 of whatever's on here. And so, like, for example, the Kelowna chocolate milk right here, I've pretty much at this point stopped getting it because there was a time when I got 4 of them at the store one time, 4 32-ounce Kelowna chocolate milks, because I loved it so much. I tried it out and I said, this stuff is amazing. This is keeping me to where I'm eating organic food. But the issue with it was I would drink all of that within like 2 or 3 days. And so at this point, if I'm feeling to get chocolate milk, I would get like one of them, maybe. But I haven't really had the urge in the past maybe 2 months or so. So just, yeah, kind of a caution or a cautionary tale there. Nutso butter. This stuff right here, amazing. Keeping this in stock and being able to have a snack in between the meals is great. I can get a spoon, I can just dip in there and I can just eat it, and it'll keep me satisfied until that next meal. So if I'm doing some, work in the office or something like that, I'll just go in if I feel an urge to do this. And if I don't want to make a full meal, I'll just get a spoonful of that or half spoon and just eat it. And I'm good for a little bit longer. So really great to have Nutso butter on hand, and the Hu chocolate. I highly recommend the Hu chocolate as far as their quality and their variety. I would say if you enjoy dark chocolate, definitely try this out. They also have some nut butter filled ones. And so you can switch, or what I've done is I've switched back and forth. There's an almond crunch that is probably my favorite one. It's white background, I think, and it has like teal kind of writing, something like that. Almond crunch, that's a favorite of mine. That one is milk chocolate, so it's not the dark chocolate. There's some benefits from having dark chocolate. And as far as that, I would suggest there's a brand called Beyond Good. It's got Africa on there, and they have a 92% dark chocolate. That stuff tastes really great. That's if you get accustomed to that, it's not really sweet because it's, super dark, but I find if you can have, or if I have like one of those a day, one square, maybe two, it's decent, and that'll last maybe 2 or 3 days. The Hu stuff that I buy, it doesn't usually last 3 days. I can probably eat it in a day or two. So it tastes really good, but we're kind of on the same level with, if you find a really good one that you enjoy, we're on the same level as kind of the chocolate milk for me. So all these, a caution would be to use them sparingly, and maybe 1 or 2 of these a week, if you're talking about chocolate, maybe. So if I run out before the week's over, or before I go to the grocery store, it's all good. I mean, a day or 2 or 3 without some type of chocolate or some type of treat, if we're doing this type of food, is not too bad. It's all good. So the next thing would be the Tate Mata Maize. This right here, these chips, comes in a yellow bag. They also have the blue ones. There's a yellow and a blue package, so you can choose between what kind of flavor you want there. I use these when I buy them in the egg dish in the morning with the cauliflower and all that. It's amazing. At the very end, after the blueberries and everything, crunch up maybe a medium-sized hand amount or portion. I crunch that up and then sprinkle it in and kind of stir it up in the egg and cauliflower mixture and stuff like that. It gives a little crunch, and I would suggest doing it at the very end so it still maintains that crunch there, because that's the main point that I do it. So it's not just a completely soft meal. I get a little bit of that texture there, and I enjoy that. The whole thing with all this is keeping it to where the things are interesting to eat. And what I found is making the food is actually a whole process in itself. So like making that food, at the end of it, I'm enjoying it even more. I'm seeing everything that's going in it. I know all the ingredients. I know that it's, quality food. And then I'm putting that in my body to fuel that. So the rest of the day, or, towards the end of the day, I still have some energy left. It's not just complete, fasting or something like that on a typical basis. So a couple other ones on here. Alter Eco. That's a good brand to check into as well. If you like their taste, they have a few different flavors. There's, I would check the packaging on that, or the ingredients. I think there are 3 of them that I found. I think it was Blackout, Sea Salt, and one of the other ones, maybe a mint Blackout or something like that. Check the packaging on there for the ingredients and make sure that it does not have any natural flavors or anything. These things, the natural flavors, that's a whole nother topic, but just for now, if we can find items that don't have like natural flavors or organic natural flavors or like soybeans and stuff like that, then we're going to be doing all right. So Alter Eco. Another one, jalapeno poppers. That's what we were talking about. I like to do these cream cheese jalapeno poppers. I can pop them right in the oven and do it maybe for 15 minutes, something like that. I think at like 350. And then the last few minutes, I'll turn on the broiler on high and then have the cream cheese get pretty toasty up there and then pull them out. So a really amazing treat to make. And it's just like you can get a few jalapenos, a few dollars, a thing of cream cheese, and maybe use half of it. So you're looking at like a $5, $6, $7 snack that will get you going. Like if at the end of the day you don't want a full, eggs or chicken or some kind of full meal, you can just do that and kind of snack on it and say, hey, I'm good. So I've done that multiple times, and it's nice too. It's a nice change up. So the last thing we have here is the whipped cream, and this particular brand here, they have that at Whole Foods. This one has the least amount of things that would be considered, maybe a negative on your body. So if anything on this list, this would be probably the lowest one. But I mean, we're still at a high point because I believe it's organic. If it's not organic, there are several organic ingredients on the back. That's what it is. And there might be something with how they package it with the air inside or the canister where it's like pressurized, that they may not be able to call it organic, but there are several ingredients in here that are organic. So this, if you are a whipped cream fan, this is a go-to right here, this one. So I would highly recommend that. So if anything here has helped you guys at all get on track, or, get your mind going around what to eat, the different ideas, and you probably have come up with some on your own. That's the whole fun of this. All this was coming up through, failures and trying things and seeing what worked and checking the scale and seeing when it was going up and when it was going down, and everything kind of got to a point of refinement. So if anything here has helped you, just let me know. Comment and let me know if you want me to talk about anything else, or if there's particular meals or something that I do where this weight release journey is working, because I know that you can do it. I've been doing it, and I've put this list together and many other videos that are coming to show you guys exactly what I'm doing. So you can take that however you would like as far as using these ingredients or making your own. It's just to get ideas. It's to get ideas flowing. So if anything here has helped you, I'm so grateful that it has, and I appreciate you for watching. And if there's anything else I can do or any other topics that you like, just send me a message or comment, and I'll answer it to the best of my ability for you. So I appreciate you all so much. And until the next video, take care. Bye.